with what little introduction you've had so far, we're going to keep things moving and show next how to manipulate the viewport. Now the viewport is the largest part of our interface here. It's this big wide open canvas showing the cube and the camera and the light that we talked about in the last video. And this viewport can be manipulated. It can be turned and flipped upside down and all kinds of good things. Its purpose is to give you a look at what it is that you're making. And because it's a 3D scene, we need to see all sides of our objects, our arrangements and our environments and so forth. Blender has given us two different ways to get this done pretty conveniently. The first is more interface, the second is keyboard and mouse commands. So let's look at the interface option first. Over in the right hand side of your viewport, you're going to see this colorful gizmo with a Z, X, and Y within. Now the Z, X, and Y stand for those different axes of the 3D space. So we have an X axis, that's this red line. We have a Y axis, that's this green line. And then a Z axis which runs up and down. Now this kind of drives me crazy about Blender, I'll admit, because the Y axis is traditionally a vertical axis. And in Blender, it lays it down as a horizontal axis instead of a vertical. So it always throws me off. Forgive me if I ever misstate which axis is what. This is one where Blender's unique. All other 3D software is going to use that Y coordinate as a vertical. So bear with it. At any rate, to orbit our view, that is to rotate what it is that we're seeing, we can click anywhere in the gray space in this colorful gizmo and just drag. And as you do that, you're going to see the scene before you move in relation to how you're dragging. We can also focus in on one of these axis points. So if I just click on the X, zoop, I will immediately zip to that X axis view. I can click on the Y and the Z and the X again, and it'll continue to swap between those various viewpoints. To get back to my perspective view, all I have to do is grab in the gray area again, click and drag, and I'll start to be transformed back into that 3D space. So that's orbiting our view. Next, we'll see options for zooming. Makes perfect sense. We're going to mouse over that magnifying glass. As I click and drag, we'll say up and down or forward and backward depending on how you perceive your hand movements with your mouse. We're just going to click and drag forward and back, and that'll zoom in and out from our space. We can pan and scan or move the view with the next one. That's this hand icon. Very commonly used in tools like Photoshop to pan and scan. That's the hand icon. Right? So we have orbit, we have zoom, and then we have move or pan and scan. We have options to achieve these using our mouse and keyboard also. So with your mouse, if you have a middle mouse button, this is quite easy for you. Orbiting can be done by clicking the middle mouse button. Click and drag around to orbit your object. Zoom can be done scrolling the mouse wheel if you have that option. Pan and scan or move can be a little frustrating because your spacebar is natively going to activate the playhead on your timeline. So if you press spacebar thinking you're in Photoshop and try and move around, it's not going to do what you want. Instead, it's going to start the playhead and it might frustrate you a little bit. So to pan and scan, we are going to middle mouse button and we are going to hold shift, and it'll allow us to pan and scan. If you choose shift and control with a middle mouse button, will zoom in and out. It may just be a convenience if you don't like using your scroll wheel, or if your scroll wheel isn't reliable. I know there's a lot of devices where the scroll wheel can get a little fussy. You can middle mouse button and shift and control to zoom in and out. And then of course, if your mouse or keyboard aren't working, that's why you have a backup up here with the orbit gizmo, the zoom, and the move tool.